So this video reaches you from Washington, and we're on a writing trip. A few years ago, God has given us like a vision to write a book on like how to love your community and how to love your neighbors and really find community by being community. So a little while ago we started writing on the book, and it took like a real long time, and we went on a writing trip before and we worked on an outline and all this kind of stuff, and then we started writing every week. And the hard thing is, if you write every week, it's hard to get things done. Like, you're moving into writing, but then it takes you a while to actually get into it, and then by the time you're actually writing, you have to finish because something else is coming up. So we both felt like strongly we should go on a writing trip again and actually set aside a whole week to write, but we didn't know where. We just knew we had to go to a place where it's like quiet and where we're not distracted from anything. So we met those friends on the East Coast, and yeah, they were like, hey, we can organize you a place on the East Coast. And we're like, oh, that sounds like a good idea. But then we're like, by the time we get there and it's too far away and everything, like, maybe we should find something on the West Coast. So we said thank you, but we're trying to find something on the West Coast. And they're like, oh, actually, you know what? We are having friends and they have a beach house, and we'll ask them. And so they did, and then they got back to us and be like, yeah, you can stay at our beach house. That's totally great. Write the book there. That's wonderful. So God provided, through a relationship with somebody else, a place for us through someone we didn't even know. So today's topic is about being interdependent. So when you're interdependent with someone, you're not depending just on yourself. You're actually depending on other people. You're depending on God. So in this case, in our situation, we totally had to depend on God, but then also God used people that He introduced us to at one point in our lives to organize a place for us and to make things happen that He has planned. So the same thing is true for when you live in a neighborhood. So when you actually have things like tools and all those kind of things and you buy them all, you're not really dependent on anybody else. You're dependent on yourself, right? But if you live in a small apartment in the city and there's no space to store any tools or anything, you're kind of getting dependent on neighbors. And that is great, because when you're dependent on others, they start depending on you, and you actually start creating a relationship. So as an example, if we need a hammer, like, we have a tiny little hammer at a house, it's really small, and to hit a nail in or to do anything with that thing, like, takes forever. So we just go across the street and ask our neighbor, hey, could we borrow a hammer from you? Because he has a whole tool set. And he's like, of course you can. Or for Thanksgiving, we had more people over than we thought we were gonna have. So we had like 13, and our table, the max, all of our tables in the house would maybe hold like 10. So we were like, oh, okay, what are we gonna do? All right, hey, why don't we just ask our neighbor? He has everything pretty much. And it builds a relationship. So my challenge for you this week is, with this video, to be interdependent. We are trying to be so independent most of the times, but try to be interdependent. Depend on other people in your life, because that opens up the door to be vulnerable. That opens up the door for relationship. That opens up the door to go deeper. And God wants to use our interdependence with other people and with Him to provide for us. And when you live through this week, look at things where you can start being interdependent with others. Instead of thinking buying a tool, think about who can I borrow that tool from. Or instead of like buying something, like whatever, ask like someone for it if you can borrow it. That's my challenge for your week. Have a great week. Bye.